Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're in Silkeborg for the 6th round in the B category of TORUS Season 3. Yes, we're here to look at the 6th event in the B category of this season of the TORUS Cup, a month-long series organised by course setters from around the world and can be found here on the Tempo Simulator, the link to which can be found in the description of this video. Now today we're off to Silkeborg in Denmark for a tour of its well-known places, organised today by Tobias Bering and advised by Libor Forst, and I think this should be good fun. I've done a couple of events by Tobias in the past I think, and I have enjoyed them, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got for us today. I will just make the point though that you can see there was an announcement about this race where someone complained about the confusing zoom and solution for task 21, but that was because of an older picture used for the zoom and the organisers have apologised for this, but using hindsight we will know this and remember not to use the zoom for these tasks. But yeah, with that in mind, let's jump straight into this, going into the B section of the season 3 and going into event 6, which today has a 1 to 4,000 map with 2.5 metre contours. There are 6 stations with a 30-second penalty for every wrong answer and a 4 metre no exception zero tolerance. We are in urban and park terrain, and the instructions are that a black cross equals a sign, a sculpture or a playground item, and also there is a black circle with a cross inside being a light pole, which only appears in station 3. So we're going to have to remember that as conventional things for a black cross normally, but just a black circle with a cross inside we'll remember for station 3. And yeah, that's all the information we get for this, so it should just be a normal enjoyable competition. As always, my answers will be appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting, correct or wrong with the black and red letters respectively at the moment that I do. And yeah, with that, let's have a go at this 6th event in the B category of TORUS Season 3. As we're loading, and we're going to start slow because that's what we get in the normal competition, and we're going into Station 1. Okay, there's the 6 kites in front of us, a load of trees with the Echo and Foxtrot on the area. Second tree down, that side has to be Alpha, and that inside corner is Foxtrot. That tree, we want it on the tree so it's not between any. Between those 2 trees though is going to be Delta, with the corner of the building being the wrong corner. And that was a good first station. All the features there were clear, with the line of trees going with Alpha, Bravo and Delta, with Charlie on the building and Echo and Foxtrot being on the patch of open land. And then with the first task came, we wanted the second tree from the left hand side of the line. I think it was clear Alpha was on the correct tree. The only one I did have to think about mainly was the third task, whether Bravo or Delta were in the right place on the line, but I think because the task wanted it on a tree and both Bravo and Delta were between trees, I was happy to zero that one, as well as the final task being on the wrong corner of the building. That was quite an interesting trick to keep us on our toes for the whole station. And yeah, I thought that station was good, but we will just move now on to Station 2, where we can see zoom is not available anymore in the picture because of the complaint that was made, so we don't need to think about that as we go into Station 2. Okay, it's a hillside with the canopy and the staircase and the bush on the left hand side. So that's the staircase going round between the stairs and the tree. There is no zoom. There's going to be Echo, I think, with that corner of the wall. Inside corner is Delta. Over there, tip of the woodland, that's going to be Alpha, I'm pretty sure. And I feel like Foxtrot's not in the right place there, but Bravo is definitely on the top of those stairs. And that was a good second station, and I can see why people were using the zoom for task 21, as I did want to use it myself, but I think it was fairly clear that Echo was going to be in the right place between the stairs and the tree. So that was quite a nice opening task. We could obviously see the stairs and the canopy coming through, and all the features were clear before we came down to Delta in the corner of the wall and then across to Alpha on the edge of the copse. I was expecting it to maybe be some thicker woodland in a darker green, but I was happy to say that was the white area. The only one I zeroed was the 4th task, and to me Foxtrot was on the corner of the wall, not in the erosion gully far away from the wall, so I think that one was a clear 0 to then come to Bravo for the final task. And I do think that was quite a nice second station, but we do move now into Station 3, and we remember that there was the special symbol in this station being the black circle with the cross in it as the tall pole, so we'll remember that as we go into Station 3. Okay, those are going to be the tall poles, the bush at the back with the water as well. So the first 2 poles is going to be Delta, with that being the wrong bush. That corner is Echo. End of the wall, There isn't a wall mapped, but there is one there, and that pole is Alpha. So that was a good third station. It was quite similar to the first one actually, with just a line of poles rather than a line of trees, and then a thicket out the back as well, but we did go to the wrong thicket on the second task. I'm pretty sure about that. The only one that confused me slightly there was the fourth task, with it being on the end of a wall, but I hadn't quite realised there was a wall where Foxtrot was because it wasn't mapped. So I don't know whether it would have just been better to use outside corner of the lake rather than wall, so then I would have been definitely confident it was there, but I don't think it was too bad. It was clear there was a wall in a photo, and yeah, the rest of the station did come together quite nicely. I think I only put 1 0 in that, being the second task on the hedge, and I'm fairly happy with that one, and so we will now cross over the halfway point of today and go into station 4. Okay, there's a canopy right in front of us, the canopy at the back there as well with Charlie, so that's got to be the canopy with that corner being Bravo, and there's nothing over there, but Foxtrot's on that bit. That is the wrong part of the canopy, and then that part of the wall is Alpha. And I did like that station as a fourth station. I was slightly concerned about how everything was going to be mapped, seeing the canopy in front of us and a load of garden areas, but I did think it was quite clear that the grey area we had in front of us was the canopy for the first task, and Bravo was definitely on the left hand side of it. The second task being a 0 I thought was quite cheeky, especially with the third one being the answer you would have put for the second one, or at least potentially there you would have realised your mistake, that it wasn't Echo or Foxtrot for the second task, and it was definitely Foxtrot for the third task. And then while you were panicking about that, we went out to Charlie, and you would have easily slipped up there, as it was the wrong corner of the canopy as well. So well done if you did manage to get those right, but I think there was a lot of security coming back to Alpha for the final task. And that was a nice fourth station. I did like that a lot, but we'll now move into the penultimate station of today, which is station 5. Okay, there's a play equipment with the canopy, and the Foxtrot's on a tree. No, Delta's on a tree, I think. Out the back there, outside corner's got to be Bravo. There's the canopy, so there's nothing on that. And that hedge is going to be Alpha. Tree right out the back. Can I believe that's there? I suppose it's the only tree in the area, so I'll believe it. And that side is going to be Echo. And that was a good fifth station. I did think the use of the area was quite nice. We obviously had 2 lines of play equipment with some hedges going around, and there was a canopy on the right hand side, so we were able to anchor ourselves pretty clearly there, and then go off to Bravo for the first task on the outside corner of the hedge. The one that took me the longest there was the fourth one, going out to Delta on the tree, because it was so far in the distance I was struggling to properly place us, and I just wanted to make sure everything fitted, but I think it did seem to, being the only tree in the area. And yeah, all the other tasks were very clear there, so I would say now we're moving on to the final station of the day, which is station 6. However, this station was voided due to a technical error like with the 6th day in the A category, so we will just skip on now, and we can see that with our results we did that in a time of 100. It does seem like I was actually wrong with the Delta, even though I was thinking about it for ages and I was pretty sure it was correct, but we are finishing with a time of 130 seconds, including the one mistake. I don't think that's too bad at all, but let's go and have a look at the stations for today then. And with the first station, what we had here for me, as we've said before, is this line of trees, and we can also see the square of open land here with Echo and Foxtrot and the monument in the middle of it, or that black circle. And so when the map came up and we had the line of trees and there was a square of open land there, I thought that was very nice to start us off, and we want the second tree furthest away from us. So it's the tree all the way over here, and it's the second one furthest away, so this is the furthest one away, and we actually want this one, which is the one that Alpha's on, and it is on the southeastern side, so that was a nice Alpha to start off the station, before we then also went to the open land which we anchored on, and we want the northern inside corner of it, where Echo is in the western inside and Foxtrot is in the northern inside, so it was a nice Foxtrot for the second task, before we then came back to the line of trees and we wanted another tree and the northwestern side of it. So if we're believing Alpha is correct for the first task, it's not going to be Alpha, and Bravo and Delta are between trees, not on a side of a tree. So that was my reasoning for zeroing it. In terms of the tree we actually want though, the first tree in the line, because of the alignment with the open land, is the first one in the line that we can see as well, and we're going 1, 2, 3 further trees up, so we're going 1, 2, 3 trees up to this one, and so no kites are anywhere near there, and that one is clearly a 0. Well done if you did manage to get that. Before we then came between 2 trees, and it's the southeastern between 2 trees, so it's the 2 trees closest to us, which must be these 2, and Delta's definitely in between there. So I was happy with Delta for the fourth task, before finally we went back to the corners of the building, and here we want the leftmost corner of the building in the circle, as there are 2, and we look out and we see that Charlie is on a corner of a building, but it's on the corner closest closest to the trees, so it is the rightmost, not the leftmost, which is hiding behind that tree, and that was a nice 0 to finish off the station. And I did think that this was a good station for the first station of the day. The zeros were fairly clear, but the last task was the hardest and was just making sure you were paying attention, so well done if you did manage to get that station fully correct. And then for the second station we came and we had a completely different view, as what we had here was an embankment with all the kites on, and there is obviously a staircase going where Bravo is, and also a canopy which potentially might be a bus shelter or something with Delta on one end of it. So when the map came and we saw the road as well coming in front of us, and then there's a canopy and some stairs, we know we're in the right place, and we're going up the first staircase to the left of the canopy, and then there's a rounded staircase that bends round, and we can't quite see it, but if we're believing that this is the top of the first one, we know it's going to be about here somewhere. And then we want to be between this second staircase here and the tree, which is just about there, I'm believing, and so we've gone either side of the Echo kite, and this one must be Echo for the first task. So well done if you did manage to spot that. Before we then came to the second task and we came forward and we wanted the inside corner of this wall, so it's the left hand side of the canopy, so we're coming to Charlie or Delta, but Charlie's on the outside corner, Delta's on the inside corner, so this one must be Delta for the second task. Well done if you did manage to get that. And then for the third one we came to the left hand side and we wanted the tip of this copse, where I originally thought, as we said before, that Alpha was going to be on a thicket rather than a copse, but I can definitely believe that there is a lot of woodland there, and it is the transition from the open land to the woodland where Alpha very clearly is, so that was a nice Alpha for the third task. Before we then shot off right to the right hand side, and we have to decide whether Foxtrot's in the right place here, as we've gone to the right of Echo, and here we want the erosion gully, but as we said before, Foxtrot is on the corner of the wall instead, not in the erosion gully, which is a bit further round, probably about there. So I was happy to zero that for the fourth task before we came back to the staircase, which we anchored on right at the start of the station, and we want the top of the western staircase, which is the lowest one down and where Bravo definitely is. So we ended the station with Bravo there, and I did think this was quite an interesting station. It's a shame that potentially the zoom image here was different, because I think that first task was very good on its own, but I think the station that I had there to have a go at was very good. So well done for doing well at the station if you did. Before we then came to the third station, and here we had a similar thing to the first station, where we have a building out there, we have a key feature on the right hand side, which is a lake this time rather than some open land, and we have a line of poles here rather than trees. So I was happy to anchor with all of that, and then the map came up and we wanted to be between the two poles in the centre of the circle. So it's the first two in the line, and the rightmost one is going to be in line with the end of the lake. So we look up here and see that this pole is in line with the end of the lake, and so we're going between these two, and Delta is nicely between that. So it's a nice Delta to start off the station before we then went back to the thicket, and here we want the southern thicket and the northwestern end of it. So we look up and see that Charlie is on the thicket, but it's not actually on the southern thicket because the southern one is over here instead. So this was quite a clear zero for me. I was aware this was a trick that could be played when the map came up, and so I was very quick to zero that one. Before we then came forward to the corner of the open land, and it's the northeastern inside corner here, right next to the lamppost, which we've been told is the black circle with the black cross. I can't really see that very clearly, to be honest, but I can believe there is something there, and so this is the open land we want with the post, and coming in here that is definitely Echo for the third task. So I was happy with that one. The only one that confused me here was the fourth task, and for this one I looked at the control description and said southeastern end of the wall, but looking on the map there isn't a wall really in the circle at all, apart from maybe the very faint grey lines of the border. Maybe this is the wall that we're going for, and so we do look up at the photo and look at the correct corner of the lake, because that is what we're going for, and see that Foxtrot is definitely in the correct corner of the lake, and we can see a wall going to the right hand side of Foxtrot, meaning that Foxtrot is on the southeastern end of this wall, and that was a nice Foxtrot for the fourth task after the small bit of confusion I had, but I don't think that really hindered from the task. It was clear that Foxtrot was in the right place before the final task came, and we came back to the line of poles, and we want the second one furthest away from us, and we want the northern side. So we do look back to the left hand side and see there is a pole here, with the next pole closest to us being this one, the one we want, and Alpha is nicely on the northern side to round off this station with an Alpha. And I do think this was another good station. As I do keep saying, it was similar to station 1, but I don't think that really took away from it. There were a couple of different tasks in it, and it just again kept us on our toes, which I did quite like. Before we crossed over the halfway point of the day and came into station 4, and here things got a lot different as we have gone a bit more urban, and the key thing that I anchored on here was the canopy right in front of us, and there's some garden beds around with potentially a building back there. So when the map came up and I can see the weird shapes coming round of the dark green and the grey, I can immediately see that this is the canopy, and so it's the canopy we're looking at, and we want the left hand tip of it, to which we go out there and see that Bravo is on that tip, so that was a nice Bravo to start off the station. But the hardest task here was really going off to the right hand side side, and we want the southwestern side of this wall. So we go out to the right hand side and see that Echo is on top of the wall and Foxtrot is on the southeastern side. However, it's on the first bit of garden bed we reach. We actually want the second bit on the right hand side, which is this curved bit round here. So I want the kite to be all the way back there, and this one is definitely a 0. Confirmed to us when we come to the third task, and very cruelly we are given the wall, and you realise your mistake, as here we want the southern tip of the wall, and Foxtrot is now in the right place, not in the place for the second task. So well done if you did manage to get those right. I did think that was quite a nice trick. And then for the fourth task, if you're still annoyed that you got the second one wrong, you might get this one wrong, as here we want the southeastern building and the western outside corner, and it is on the right hand side of the canopy, but we look out there and see that Charlie is on the left hand side of the canopy, not the right hand side, and so I want the kite to be over there. And that to me was a very clear 0 for the fourth task, before we then came forward and we wanted the northern piece of wall, which is the left hand one here, and we want the southwestern side of it, and it's the left hand side of the canopy. So we go to the left of the canopy, see this garden bed with the wall going round it, look at the southwestern side and see that Alpha is very nicely placed there to end off this station. And I did think this was quite a nice change of pace really. It was a much different station to the previous 3, and I think this may have thrown a few of you, so well done if you did manage to do well there. But we then came to the penultimate station of the day, which is the final station I have competed in, and here we have a much different view of some play equipment with a tree right in front of us, and Echo and Foxtrot are on it, and there's also a canopy just to the right hand side of Foxtrot as well. So that's all I really anchored on as the map came up, and I could see there is the play equipment with the lines of hedges, and there's also a canopy to the right hand side with the tree that Echo and Foxtrot is on right in front of us. And so we're going to the left hand side of the left hand play equipment bits, and we're going up the path to the hedge at the end, and we go up the path and see that Bravo is on the end of this hedge, and so I was pretty happy to say that Bravo was there for the first task, being the northwestern outside corner there. So that was a nice Bravo to start off the station, before we then came forward, and here we wanted the piece of play equipment, specifically the eastern piece of play equipment and the eastern side. And if you weren't paying attention here, you would have definitely put Charlie, as this is on the eastern part of the eastern play equipment in this patch. But the bit we want is actually behind the canopy that we anchored off to start with, so is the play equipment back there, and this is definitely a 0 for the second task. So well done if you did manage to spot that. We then came back to the left hand side and we wanted the end of the linear thicket here, specifically the eastern end, and so we're coming forward from where Bravo was all the way back here, and we come forward and we can see that Alpha is quite nicely there at the end of that thicket, so I was happy to put Alpha for this third one. It's this fourth task which I did get wrong, and I can kind of see why now, to be honest, because we're looking out to the back and all we're given here is tree eastern side of it, to which I looked up and I spent a lot of time deliberating over whether this was going to be Delta or not. But I can now see this is a 0 as we look out there, and you can just about make out there's some open land at the base of the tree. So Delta is actually going to be on the tree back here, in line with the staircase back there as well, and the tree we actually want is to the right hand side and hiding back behind there somewhere. So I'm now much happier that this one is a 0 rather than Delta. Well done if you did manage to get that one right. That was my only mistake in this. And then finally we came back forward to the front of the map, and we're given the tree right in front of us, so we know it's going to be Echo or Foxtrot, and we want the southern side of the tree, so we have to check the side, and knowing that north is going to the right, south is going to the left, placing Echo on the southern side of that tree. And I do think that was a good station for the final station that I competed in. The trick with Delta or 0 out the back was quite a cruel one, but I don't think it was too hard, and I possibly should have just been paying more attention to the ground around it. So well done if you did manage to get that one right. But we will now have a look at the voided station of the day, and this is the first time I'm seeing this, so I'm going to try and solve it even though I know the answers. And we come to this sixth station, and my first impressions of this are quite nice, to be honest. I'm not looking at the map at the moment, but we obviously have a fountain down by Charlie. I'm presuming that's going to be mapped as the black cross or a black circle, and there's a building over there with a canopy and a couple of pillars. Alpha's in the corner of the open land with the line of trees, and Foxtrot's all the way out there on a canopy as well. So we look at the map and I can see the 2 pillars of the triangular canopy here on the building, and so this black circle must be the fountain that we can see coming forward, and we want a distinctive tree out the back. So we're going back and slightly to the right of the fountain, and this is going to be Delta on the southwestern side of that tree. So well done if you did manage to put Delta for the first task there. I think that's quite a nice opener, to be honest. Before the second task came, and here we're going underneath the canopy between the 2 pillars. So it's the canopy we have anchored off to start with, and Bravo does seem to be between the 2 pillars there, although I can't really see its cane and it just seems to be floating. But Bravo is between them, so that was a nice Bravo for the second task. And then for the third one we go out to between 2 trees, and it's the furthest 2 trees away from us on this line. So we're looking at this line of trees, and the furthest 2 away are these 2. So this must be a 0 as the kite must be there rather than an echo between these two. So that's a nice 0 for the third task. Before we go out to the right hand side, and we see that we want the northern end of the wall, and it's the northeastern wall in the circle. So we look out to the left hand side and see that this building that we thought Foxtrot was on to start with is actually the building back here at the edge of the map, and this is a lot further forward. But looking at the gap in the paved area, this must be the wall that we're going for, and so Foxtrot must be on the northern end of the right wall. So I'm happy that that one is Foxtrot for the fourth task. And then we come forward and we want the middle tree in the circle, and it's the one just north of the path coming out for the fountain, and we want the northern side of that tree. So we have the fountain, we have the path coming through, and we want the northern side of the path, which is this tree, and the northern side of that tree is Charlie to finish off the day. And I do think that was a shame that this station was voided, because I can't see anything wrong with that station at all, but I did think it was a very good one, and I do think really this whole day was a very good event. All the maps did seem very clear, all of the kites were in good positions as well. The difficulty wasn't too hard for a B course, but there were still some tricks in there to make sure people were paying attention, and I think it was very good. So thank you to Tobias and Libor for putting this together. But let's go and have a look where 130 seconds would have put me on the leaderboard, and we can see that I would have been in first by 42 seconds, but it is very well done to Mira for winning the event. 2 seconds quicker than Julie, who was then 1 second quicker than Mika, so it's very close actually for the top three. Very well done to all of them. In terms of where Mira did win the event though, it does look like potentially it was in station 4 where she won the station, but most people did make the mistake that I made in station 5, so I'm not really surprised by that, but well done to Mira for managing to hold on to the lead. To me, the most interesting thing with the percentages here was here in station 2, where quite a lot of the percentages were fairly high. It was just the first one where 63% of you managed to get Echo, but 25 went with Delta and 87 also went with 0. This was the one between the stairs and the tree, and I think without the zoom it was clear it was Echo, but I don't know what different image you had with the zoom, so I can't really comment on much there. It's mainly this second task I'm more interested in, with 28% of you getting it right, being 94 of you going with Delta, but 225 went with Charlie. And this was the one on the inside outside corner, and if you were reading the control descriptions you would have made sure that you would have seen it's the inside corner and not the outside, and so it's Delta over Charlie. So this is just a lesson really that the control descriptions can be useful. Even if the zero tolerance is 4 meters, that's only for zeros. Kites can be closer than 4 meters to each other, and so you do have to be checking which kite it is from the control descriptions, etc. So well done if you did manage to get that one right, and really most of the other percentages here in the day were very high. You can see that the final 3 in this station were, so very well done for getting most of the day right. But let's go and have a look at the overall results for the series so far in the B category with 2 days left to go, and we can see that we have Gergely in the lead here, 1.4 points ahead of Julie in second place, who is then 0.9 points ahead of Ziga. So Gergely has been holding the lead since the start and has been very consistent with the 4 scores all being in the top 10 here, so very well done for doing that. But Julie has been making a comeback, winning 2 events and coming second in the previous 3, so this could be very close going into the final 2 events, and we'll have to see how this plays out. But then we also have Odid 2 points behind Ziga and Giacomo 1.4 points behind Odid, so it's still anyone's game for the top 3 coming into the final week, and I do think again it will be very interesting to see how this plays out. But with that, that's going to be the end of today's video, so thank you all again for watching. If you'd like to like the video as always and subscribe to the channel, making sure you click the bell next to the subscribe button and select all so you're notified whenever I release a video, and also as always be remembering to share these videos. This was another good event in the B course, and I do think anyone who wants to get started in trailer will enjoy these B courses a lot. They are definitely a good standard for them, and so do make sure you're sharing the simulator and the videos with all your orienteering friends, giving them the chance to take part in these. And as always, be commenting down below any extra analysis you think I've missed from this video, and also any small bits you think I could add. And I will join you again next week for the 7th round in the B category of TORUS Season 3.